Okay.
What's going on, guys? I haven't uploaded in a minute. The party that I dungeon master for, their goblin companion died, so I had to mourn for 8 months. No, but in all seriousness, it's been a while since I've uploaded. There's been what feels like a million things going on, but I'm excited to get a video out to you guys. In addition to mourning the death of the party's goblin companion, shout out Zargek, I've also been playing a lot of Baldur's Gate 3. It's while we're at camp right now. If you've played Baldur's Gate 3, this is a campsite. So we're there right now. How cool is that? Before we get into this video, I do have a couple housekeeping notes for subscribers of the channel. I haven't uploaded in a while, and I feel really bad. Wanted to, and then it gets to the point. Like, this is what they don't tell you about content creation. Okay, I'm giving you the inside scoop. It's like a Baskin Robbins out here. You don't upload for a while, and then you're like, oh, the video where I do upload has to be insane, and that's what I thought for forever. And then I changed my mind about it and was like, I just want to get back to uploading. So that's what this video is. So yes, that's one note. Second thing, coffee is in the description. Bare gold for a content creator. 2 shillings, and I'll do a little dance and tell you how to make your tabletop dice rolling game just a touch better. No, but really, anything helps. The final note that I have is for the question of the video. For those of you new to the channel, I do like a, question at the end of each one of my videos, and I'll respond to it in the video. I've been thinking about moving that to the community page because I feel like there's more room to have those conversations happen on there, and more people could kind of jump in. It would be a little more focused. I have a particularly strong opinion on it. Let me know in the comments down below. Now on to the main event that you signed up for when you clicked onto this DM Denver video. You get 3 things when you click on a DM Denver video. You get a dude in elf hat, you get average YouTube content, you get a sense of satisfaction. You get 5% off at chain grocery stores in the Southeast. Not sponsored. The extra thing you get is what the video is about. This one's all on Baldur's Gate 3. I was playing it a lot during my hiatus. From a Dungeon Master's perspective, I have tons of thoughts on it as a game. From a hobbyist perspective, I have tons of thoughts on its impact it's going to have on the tabletop space and how people are going to bring different sentiments and perspectives to the table, having played it, or maybe having it be their gateway into tabletop games like D&D. But today, I want to focus on the Dungeon Master's perspective, and I specifically want to focus on combat. You saw the title of this video. You're a literate person. This is all on what we can take away from Baldur's Gate 3 and apply to our tabletop content. Now, I'm DM Denver, but this video can help players too, so stick around. My first note that I have from Baldur's Gate 3 is how it makes engaging combats. Dungeon Masters and players, I want you to imagine the most fun combat encounter you've ever played. Think about it, right? I mean, there's all sorts of campaign settings, all sorts of homebrew. I couldn't even begin to guess which one it is, but I would wager with a decent amount of certainty that it featured a couple general themes, themes that Baldur's Gate applies consistently in every single initiative that gets rolled when you're playing the game. These 3 things, without fail, are height, line of sight, and environment interactions. What really jogged my thinking for this was during one of the fights towards the middle of Act 1. You're in an area where it's an enclosed space and there's braziers hanging above this kind of main fight piece setting that this combat's going to take place over. And you as a player can, you guessed it, shoot the braziers down and they fall and they drop hot coals onto whoever's underneath them. The fact that I could firebolt a brazier and drop it on a bunch of people and I'm effectively getting a big AoE at the cost of a normal firebolt, so much fun. I was so invested. I just kept dropping braziers. Some of the most fun I think I've had, and one of the most memorable fights I've had out of Baldur's Gate 3, because it was just so quintessential to what makes combats engaging. To interact with the brazier, which is an environment interaction, satisfies that first one, I had to have line of sight on it, which means I couldn't be interrupted, by like a pillar or up a staircase or down a staircase. So that had to trigger my movement as a player. And then finally, the height or my distance from the brazier affected also what my considerations were. There was one point where I had to risk an opportunity attack to get into place to hit the brazier, so that way it would kill people that were attacking one of my party members. I mean, that's such a fun and engaging situation to be in, because it's like, well, do I want to risk the opportunity attack? Is Gale's life really worth it? So for you as a Dungeon Master and you as a player, keep those things in mind. Height or distance, what you can interact with in the environment, and your lines of sight. Let's consider something too. We're gonna build a combat with these principles, okay? So Dungeon Masters, follow along, get your notebooks out, grab your crayons, check this out. Say you want your party to go into a cave, okay? And there's a monster in there. They gotta fight the monster, right? The first thing I would ask you is why. Okay, well, maybe somebody got kidnapped and they're in the cave. Maybe the monster terrorizing the local town. Maybe they've been hired a bunch of gold to do it, but they need a reason. So Dungeon Masters, give your party a reason to fight it. Players, lean into that reason. You know, if an NPC that you've built a relationship with says that their, spouse got killed by this monster, run with that. So they're in this cave. Look at this. This is what we have right now. It's just a cave, and you can see the entrance, and you can see the monster over there. But what's going to happen? They're going to walk in. If they have any range, they're going to use their range on it. It's going to take a bunch of damage before it can ever get to them. And if they have melee, they just walk in and wait for it to rush them, because it can see them. And then they melee it, and the range characters move, 3 squares away, and then pepper it with arrows or Eldritch Blasts or whatever. You're going to get a lot of standing still. You're going to get that monster dead real quick. And the players aren't even going to really remember this fight. There's nothing super unique about it. I mean, the monster can have a cool stat block, but in my experience, most of the time, that's just not enough. So let's make this a little more interesting. It's a cave. Why would the monster pick this cave? Well, monsters need to eat and drink. Seems like it's gotten the eating out of the way with the local townspeople. It's got to drink something. Let's add some water. It's another thing they have to either jump over, so you can make some athletics checks, that kind of thing. So we're going to add a waterfall in here that has a stream that bisects the entire cave. You got to pick a side. If you want to go from one side to the other, you risk getting into that quickly moving water and maybe going 15 feet downstream or something like that, right? All right, so already looking a little bit better. Okay, well, the monster needs to drink, and as a Dungeon Master, I don't think this is complicated enough yet. Let's keep going with the water, okay? Maybe the stream kind of splinters off, or this cave sits near a spring system, and there are pools of water in and around the cave. We're going to make these pools of water 5 feet deep. So that's full areas that characters cannot interact with. If they want to get to the monster now, because they're a melee character, they can't go in a straight line. They're going to have to move around or jump over these pools of water. If the monster has some strength to it and can knock them prone in a pool of water, this is starting to get kind of interesting. This seems like the ingredients for a lot of the cool scenes that we see in movies that we want to replicate with our tabletop games. We can envision, depending on the characters, the magic items, all the specific context, but right now, from the Dungeon Master's prep perspective, we got some ingredients for some cool stuff to happen. Let's keep going. So with all this water, the players are definitely going to have a difficult time. Let's be nice. We'll add a perimeter, a very skinny ledge that runs around both sides of this cave chamber that kind of make like a ramp that characters that are especially dexterous can navigate up. So if you've got any rogues, this is a good spot for them. It doesn't get very high, only gets 10 feet high, and if you have a big monster, they could still probably reach up there. But it's a nice advantage, and if they're stealthy, they can get in close. Maybe if the reason that they're hunting this monster is to get some artifact, this could be a good way to avoid combat entirely. Maybe the party thief sneaks up along the ledge, the monster is asleep, passes all of its stealth check, and makes out with the artifact in a fashion that will be remembered forever. Helps them out a little bit and gives them a way to circumvent, if they want, the water that we've placed around the chamber in a predictable fashion. Now use the Dungeon Master know, okay, if they're going to want to avoid this water, they're probably going to want to go on the ledge. But we're not done yet. We've got some environment interactions with this water. They got to jump over it, move around it. That's going to affect their height, their distances for all their attacks, okay? But we still need lines of sight. It seems like at the moment, most places in this chamber that they're standing, they would be able to see the monster. So let's make it a cavern that's being supported by natural pillars. And just like that, we have an engaging combat encounter featuring a monster that they have some investment in interacting with and killing or getting whatever from. and there's areas that it can move where they can't see it. So ranged characters might need to get closer than what's comfortable. Melee characters are going to have to pick if they want to go up and around the ledge, or if they're going to want to try and navigate through the water. You're going to get a lot of really cool interactions based off of what they choose, and whatever sort of monster you end up picking. Look at where we started. Look at where we ended. It's the same encounter. The only thing we changed was the environment. It's a really good way to demonstrate how the environment interacts with the combat encounters and the experiences that we end up having come game night. Oh yeah, and it's a cave, and the monster can see in the dark. So it's dark. Did they bring any torches? Do they have dark vision? The party probably has dark vision, but if they don't and they didn't bring torches, all their attacks are at disadvantage, and this gets a lot harder. We could keep going. Moving on to, I think Baldur's Gate 3 does a great job at highlighting what the purpose of a fight is. So with our cave monster example, you would want it to be a quest that's given by an NPC that they care about, worth a lot of gold to kill, some artifact or person that they need to get out of it. If it's just a monster in a cave and it proves to be too challenging and they were just exploring, they might say, yeah, we're good, we're gonna leave. Which is good sometimes. I like when that happens intermittently, but it's D&D. You want to fight some monsters. I think that the first fight on the Nautiloid of Baldur's Gate 3 does a really great job at kind of showcasing the two ways that this works is with some imps. It's right after you meet Lae'zel. This does a couple things. It's a pretty low stakes fight. I don't know of many people who have ever died or had serious difficulty with it. But what it's really there to do is let you as a player figure out the menus, the controls, and do combat in a pretty low stakes setting. So that's its out of game purpose. This is an aspect of combat that's often, I think, overlooked by dungeon masters, but can be really helpful. Focusing on the out of game purpose for combat, or the more like game side or non-narrative aspect of combat, can allow you as a dungeon master to foreshadow things in your campaign. For example, if your players have never really experienced the poison condition before and the BBEG of your campaign does a lot of poison damage, it can be handy to throw some assassins at the party early on with a specific type of poison. Mechanically, it lets your players know, oh, poison sucks. And so that can be the out-of-game purpose to have a fight that features poison. So for the Nautiloid, the out-of-game purpose is to introduce the player to the game and the combat and all that good stuff. The in-game purpose, which is just as important, is to progress through the Nautiloid. These creatures stand in the way of you and your objective. You have to slay them to continue moving forward. That's a great one. That's an easy one. It's why dungeons work so well. Dungeons are just treasure that's far away, often, most of the time, and there's monsters in between. That's why you kill them. It's a perfect, easy reason to get characters into initiative and make sure they see the fight through. But with that, that's the Baldur's Gate 3 D&D combat do it better kind of video. Hope you liked it. We're going to move on to the question of the video. The last video I uploaded was a minute ago, but the question for that video was, what was the coolest thing a villain has ever done in a campaign that you were a part of? The response I'm going with this video is from Josh's Boxes. Josh, always good to see you. Thanks so much for commenting. Sorry, I've been MIA for a minute. Josh says that the villain for a campaign he was in, one time he was in a campaign as a player, tricked some of the most important rulers in the kingdom to meeting up at one spot and then sucked them all into a portal. Conceptually, I think that's a great way for our villain to showcase the power that they have and their willingness to kind of do whatever it takes to get what they want. Also cleverness. I think having villains that use politicking and like non-physical means to threaten the party are always pretty cool. So thanks for the comment, Josh. Appreciate you. This video's question, which may or may not be answered in the next video, it might be answered on the community page, so keep an eye out in both places, is what is your favorite combat encounter from Baldur's Gate 3? I know you've been playing it. Don't lie to me. Thanks for watching. I'm DM Denver, and I still don't properly know how to end a YouTube video, so we're going to make a stealth check. In my hiatus, I leveled up. So I was at a +2 stealth. Now I'm at a +4. Got proficiency in it. I'm wearing a shadow cloak, and I was missing for 8 months. That's why I didn't upload, was because of the stealth checks. Anyway, here we go. Oh gosh, that is an 11 plus 4 is 15, so pretty good.